Hey everybody, it's me again, Jack Wallen, here to talk to you about audiobook narration. Woo! Today I want to talk about rhythm, because a lot of people neglect the idea of rhythm when they're narrating audiobooks. And I find that some of narration tends to be very plotting and very predictable, and that rhythm or lack thereof tends to be sort of counter to the narrative of the story, especially when we're talking about fiction. Now, a rhythmless narration is fine if you're narrating nonfiction, although it still can get kind of boring. So we always want to be able to think about rhythm when we're narrating. And by rhythm, I mean a varying rhythm. Rhythm works to build tension and to make things interesting and vary things a bit, because you don't want your listeners to find your narration to be just the same thing over and over and over and over, because that predictability becomes rather boring. And even more to the point, it doesn't do anything to further the story. And that's part of the thing about being a narrator, is you are the bridge between the words and the listener. You help and you become part of the story. And you have to be able to kind of push that forward a little bit and add something to it. So let me give you an example, okay? I'm still recording Chuck Buda's Desert Fangs. It's an outstanding book. I think this is the fourth in the series that I recorded for him. Let me see where I was. Where was I? There it is. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to record this with no rhythm, and you'll see what it sounds like. And the shape had been odd, large like a cow perhaps. But James knew a cow couldn't move at this. Screwed up. Let's try that again. But you see where I'm going. Let's delete that part. Got a lot of allergies going on here. Yippee skippy. And the shape had been odd, large like a cow perhaps. But James knew a cow couldn't move at that speed either. Okay, that was a very plodding, very predictable, regular rhythm. Okay? That was just boring. Now let's spice it up a bit with a little rhythm. See if you can catch it, okay? Yay. And the shape had been odd, large like a cow perhaps. But James knew a cow couldn't move at that speed either. Nobody else seemed to notice the shadow. The search party had their eyes focused on the ground ahead of them. James opened his mouth not revel. Anyway, okay, so there was one little point there that I wanted to highlight. And this is one of the ways that rhythm can really help you. Take these off. Rhythm can really help you. Now I can hear, don't sound like I'm yelling. The sentence was, nobody else seemed to notice the shadow. Okay? So there's the word shadow, which in the context of this story is very ominous. So instead of just saying, where is it? I can't even see where it is. Nobody else seemed to notice the shadow. Or nobody else seemed to notice the shadow. See, even just that tiny little bit, that tiny little change makes a huge difference. Now, some people might bark at that and say that I'm kind of indicating, I'm kind of leading the reader on. Well, that's part of the thing. Here's my take on narrating audiobooks, and this is just straight dope here. I am not just a voice. I am not just a platform so that the words from the book can make it to the ears of the listener, okay? I'm a storyteller. I'm an actor. Now, I'm an actor by training. I have an MFA in acting from Purdue University. Rah. So, by nature, when I start reading words, they're going to come out a little bit more actory. And I don't mean that in the bad scene chewing sense of the word. I mean I'm just going to animate them a bit. I'm going to give them intention. See? I'm going to give them purpose. I'm going to apply various and sundry acting techniques to the words, even though I'm just reading a book. And rhythm is one of those techniques. Everybody speaks in a rhythm. Every author writes in a rhythm. I know this because I'm also a writer. I've written almost 50 books, and it's taken me years to develop my own writer voice. So I know what my writer voice is. I know the rhythm of my writer voice. And after reading or after narrating certain authors so many times, you start to pick up on their particular voice, which happens to have a rhythm. And if you're narrating against the rhythm of what the author's written, things are going to be awkward. And if you're narrating against the rhythm of a character and against the rhythm of a scene, it's not going to work. Right? So if you're narrating a really intense action scene, you're not going to be slow and plodding. You're going to pick up the pace a little bit, and you're going to vary that pace. There's going to be moments in that action scene that you need to draw out a little bit, that you need to focus the attention on a specific passage. You can't just be, narrating quickly. Every little passage has to go by really fast because it's an action scene, and you want to keep the action up going. You got to build and build and build and build and build. Because at some point in that scene, in that grandiose action scene, there's going to be a moment where the car leaps off the trailer truck and it's hanging, suspended in midair for just a moment. I mean, it happens in Hollywood films all the time. I mean, think about The Matrix, when Neo is getting shot and everything goes into Matrix time and things slow down. I like to call that giving the text a moment to breathe. So you've got to think about rhythm when you're narrating. And as a listener, if you're not a narrator, if you're a listener of audiobooks, you're going to find narrators that use rhythm a lot and that appeal to you. And you'll find that they use rhythm to highlight moments and scenes that you might miss. It's a great technique, and it should not be glossed over. It should not be neglected. So as you're practicing your narration, be it for an audition or what, make sure you're paying attention to rhythm. Not just tone, not just breath, but rhythm. I know it can get really complicated. Narrating an audiobook is much more complicated than people think. Unfortunately, after a while of doing it, I've been doing it for a very long time. After a while, things just start to become natural. You pick up on these cues that the books give you. And sometimes you can even go against the cues that the books give you to create something with even more dimension, which is really exciting and fun. Anyway, that's all I got for today. I hope that this little tip helped you out or just was something interesting for you to watch. I don't know, maybe. Who knows? Anyway, I'm going to go back to narrating this book because I got to get it done. I'm actually getting close. I've got, 44 pages left to narrate in this book. Well, probably not because there's credits and stuff at the end and I don't narrate those. But anyway, thank you for listening. Thank you for giving me a moment of your time. And hopefully you learned something or you were entertained. Whatever. Anyway, breathe, everyone. I know that we're all going through a very challenging time right now. And we're all doing the absolute best we can. Reach out to someone if you need. If you're having trouble, reach out. And there's always someone there to talk to. Okay? I love you all. I would hug you all if I could. Just take care of yourself. Rhythm.